Guys, Jared Robbins with us, Sales Wisdom Podcast. So Jared is a really interesting guy. First saw him on LinkedIn. Um, RevGenius, he's the co-founder of RevGenius, and now RevRoom, which we're gonna talk about. And pre-pod, we were talking about the power of community. We were talking about the hustle and everything in between. Jared's kind of the man on LinkedIn, and he's all about giving power back to the individual. I have so much to learn from communities and how to start them. So, Jared, glad to have you on. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about communities and
Yeah,
RevGenius and everything that you're touching nowadays.
thank you. I'm Jared, Jared Robin. I'm co-founder of RevGenius. RevGenius is a community of 36,000 revenue professionals, really GTM professionals, sales, marketing, RevOps, and customer success. Our mission is to build trusted spaces with for curious revenue professionals who are collaborating on the future of B2B go-to-market. So learned a lot about building communities along the way. Happy to take it any direction you want.
Well, let's start with your background. I think that can be the most impactful way for people to get to learn to know the real Jared with. I
Yep.
mean, I've saw posts about your dad there, which is interesting. I've told your dad that you were going to be on the pod, and your dad helped you during COVID. I guess I read that.
Yeah.
I saw your air mattress and so forth. Tell us about like the hustle, and yeah, let's start from there, or even earlier if you want. But yeah, give us somewhat of a brief version of that.
Yeah. So I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur probably at 18 years old and made a business plan as a senior in high school about an auto detailing business with two of my friends. It's called TJB Auto Detailing, Troy, Jared, Brian. That's where we got the name. Never made any money from it, but the seed was planted. Went to college for something not entrepreneurship because I wanted to socialize and the entrepreneurship, like the Babson colleges, didn't seem that fun. And I majored in supply chain management, ended up doing what a lot of folks do that want to do one thing, but they need a fallback plan, and that was going to sales. I spent my 20s in sales. I worked for FedEx for many years, 7 years, was in the top 1% in the world in sellers at my peak, like number one out of 500 in the country in my division. Figured it out at least right then, but was unsatisfied in the sense that when you work for a Fortune 100 company, it feels like they have a plan for you and what you need to do and are able to micromanage, and that's to no fault of them, but it does put like a ceiling on your personal ambition, perhaps, or your personal creativity. So I went from that to a seed startup where I could have a little bit of equity, a little bit of money coming in, not a lot, but enough to live off of, sort of. And not quite the entrepreneurial route, but getting into technology was a massive step. And then the air mattress was in that go round. I wasn't getting paid on time. I moved in with a girlfriend that I was seeing at the time, moved out and into the office building. And simultaneously, the seed for community was planted around this time because I built a fashion magazine, a digital one. And we focus on emerging fashion designers, like under 5 years from starting. And we looked at like avant-garde, luxury sportswear, high-end streetwear, like the most fashion-forward designs at the time, the coolest, and curated a list of really amazing designers and wrote articles, created editorials, fashion films, etc., and built quite a following. And what I realized was it wasn't very profitable, but we had a lot of buzz, and we built a community around it because there's a lot of people that could resonate with supporting this really amazing emerging designer, not just people because they were new, but people because they were new and they had really, really cool designs that were better than the people that had been around for some time. And that was a really big turning point creatively for me. Ended up putting it to bed, so to speak. probably shouldn't have, but like all of us, we give up something too early. That there was a lot on my plate and it was costing a lot of money, blah blah blah. If I was a different part of my life, there would have been a different ending. But then went to work in the daytime for like a couple two-sided marketplaces, which brought supply and demand together, which was a community of people, right? Like essentially. So I was surrounded by community. Got away from it to run sales for a marketing agency. I wanted like a normal job, found myself jobless right at the beginning of COVID. And then I said, what could I do that I really vibed with, that I could see myself doing forever, because there's an altruistic nature to it, and a relational nature to it that like I understand and I empathize with, and community was that.
Love it. Love it. And well, you opened a bunch of doors there, but let's take the low hanging fruit there. So like you seem like a guy that follows his heart very much. Did you discover sales because it would pay bills, or because you're just a social creature? Let's start that way, because I can identify myself quite a lot with your background. We share similar things. I had to close down my supplement business, which was a passion product. My co-founder wasn't into losing money as well, and we pulled the plug on that one. I discovered sales because it was my first serious job, I guess, and I was so happy to get it. So why did you start it in sales? And is it fair to assume that you're like this heart-led social being deep down inside?
So I became that being over time. As a young kid, I called an extroverted introvert, meaning like I felt like I wanted to be really social, but I was scared. And then I don't know, right around college, I figured out how to drop my guard, so to speak, and that went away. For my path towards sales, I always knew it was a top two option for me. It was actually the number two option. My dad, who you've now spoken to, has been in sales for like 40 plus years in different sales. And I knew like that was a path that I could do. Like, and I think that's natural, right? Like if you see a parent doing something and you're not disgusted by it, like you're kind of intrigued, like that becomes like a natural option.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. That's going to be my number two option. My number one option is going to be entrepreneurship, I guess. Even though I didn't know how to do it, like, or figure it out. And I majored in supply chain management in college, because there was no entrepreneur major, and they told me that was the best major to understand how to run a business. So I'm like, fine, I'm going to do it. You know, the movement, like process optimization and stuff like that. And then quickly after school, I was on an internship in college in like the planning department for Columbia Sportswear, testing out the sportswear industry, because the sales my dad's been in for 30 to 40 years has been outerwear in that industry. And he had some contacts still there. He was the rep for Columbia Sportswear years ago. And I'm like, this is boring. And I realized like the lifeblood of a company is sales. So if I'm going to do anything working for somebody else, it's going to be sales, because I felt like I wanted to contribute to the growth of a company. And in my head, and this is myopic now thinking back to it, but at least as like an entry level person, um, sales had the best chance to like actually move the needle in something noticeable versus just like as I called it at the time, being like a pencil pusher, you know, like just like doing some operation stuff. What I've realized as time went on is it being the GTM function, that operations is every bit as important as sales, or in organizing it. But at the time, that's what my feeling was.
Right. Interesting. My dad's also in sales. He's an entrepreneur, and it's huge the impact our parents have on us. Not only the initial help they give us in our career, but me was coming home from school every day and seeing my dad doing phone calls, either customer service or straight up sales calls. And I never realized it, but that played on my subconscious really much, and that had huge impact on my career. So interesting to learn that. I want to focus on the air
You know what's
mattress.
funny? The
Yeah,
best lessons from my dad were just like being good at business, right? Like showing up is important, not like how you sound on it. I never learned anything about how to sell um, from my dad outside of the principles, right? Like always show up, be on time, um, persistence above all
discipline.
else, and they have to buy from somebody. Why not you?
Right.
It was
Yeah. My dad, like, talking about this apart from the cold calls, well, he always woke up, around probably 7-ish, early to work and late to leave the office. For better and for worse, I learned that from him. But yeah, he was coming at 7 and leaving at around 8. He had this little office in the garage at some point. So 12-hour days times 5. So that's 60 hours week, which is something that I learned to put the time, the energy, and also like always top customer service. So my dad, he's always like 100%. So yeah, pretty cool. The air mattress episode, like, what did you
yeah.
learn from that? Like, what was the logic behind it? It's just like, oh, let's do it Airbnb style, like founder
No, so
style.
that was in an office building. And I didn't I was paying rent still for a place that I had just left, and I couldn't afford rent in two places. And I didn't want to move home because that would like admit defeat. So fortunately, an old client I had a back office in Midtown New York, and he's like, "You could sleep here." So I brought a air mattress in. I was only there for about 2 months until the old lease ended, or I found somebody to sublet it, and I ended up moving in to like rent a room with somebody, right? But cool part of that story, going back to my dad connection, I went from an air mattress to my high school mattress, and my dad drove it into the city. And at 9:30 p.m., he helped me bring a mattress into an office building, hoping that no one would find us. No one would see us. All the lights were on. The person wasn't working at the front, but all the lights and the cameras were on, and we were just laughing. So, as hard as it was, and as much hustle, I want to give gratitude to my dad and my parents both. My mom, you'll see lots of posts as well about it. She's wonderful. Um, I had a support system. I chose that path. My parents would have allowed me to move back home. Like there's some people that don't have those options, and I want to be empathetic that I had, an easier time than some, even through that. It
Right.
wasn't
And
easy, but yeah, it could have been worse.
you did go bootstrapped and founded RevGenius. So how did that went, and what's the logic? Is it like short-term sacrifice for long-term gains? Is because community is like win-win, and it has network effects infiltrated in it. So what's your plan with RevGenius, and what was the logic of starting that?
Yeah. So the logic behind bootstrapped, or the logic behind starting a period?
Both.
Yeah. So I wanted to raise money in the beginning because I thought that's what you do. And I sense that a lot of people think that, right? Without thinking logically. Fortunately, um, we just built such buzz and grew memberships so fast, and our focus was on our members, that like sponsors came to us. It took 7 months before I was able to pay myself anything, or I'm sorry, before we made any money, and probably 9 months before I paid myself anything, something like that, or maybe 7 months before I paid myself anything. But you get the idea. And then I started consciously wanting to be bootstrapped, and what I realized along the way was community is very delicate, because it's all, everything is all about the people, but community is especially all about the people. And VC money coming in would carry VC goals, VC input, VC advice that I had to execute if I didn't hit my numbers. And I feel like it would have optimized it towards business models versus humans, and understood that you need business models to stay in business. Understood. But there's so much nuance in figuring it out that's needed when you have a community of humans. Like, you have to have the willingness to go a couple months without, putting on a business model to see like if it's there. And I believe, and I think VC is the antithesis of that. And now the goal of RevGenius and the vision is to build the most important community-led go-to-market space around. And we're building out content, we're improving our community, we're building out other business models like RevRoom. And we didn't build it out from a business model standpoint. We built it out because these folks needed something, and the business model helped support what they needed and helped do quite a bit around that. So we put the people first throughout, and that's a core thing. So wherever this grows and goes, like we have a really good vision now that we're executing on, and man, I'm blessed. We have the right team right now. We have a great team to really go at this. Our website is going to start to become a central hub for everything we do. We relaunched RevGenius Mag. That's live. We're working on improved podcast pages and distribution as the next step. We're going to have like a tool directory to really encourage, finding the right tools, but also having the word of mouth that makes community so important as part of that. Our events have been around since pretty much the start, but we're going to create a much easier hub like on our website to utilize that. And we might, and I say might, it's just a matter of when, at a certain period of time, we'll probably have some sort of like message board on our site asynchronous as well, because we realize sometimes people need Slack and sometimes people just need to search some other stuff. Everything we do is to drive impact and benefit for the members.
How do you get more members, and how do you get more sponsors?
Sponsors primarily come inbound because they see what we're doing, how we're broadcasting, all of that. We could go out and create an ICP around who sponsored other communities or other events and say, hey, is there interest? And we've done that before and, had various levels of success doing that, right? Because that's pretty clear that they are interested in the space. Getting new members, just asking people to join. What's cool is we have 4,000 people with RevGenius on their profiles. So like, even if they don't know us, our value prop for the cost of RevGenius is like pretty outstanding. Like if I said, Charles, I've created a community, it's no cost for sales, marketing, RevOps, and CS professionals. We have a lot of people. What's the best email to send an invite to? And I sent that to 10 people. I promise you 1 to 2 will say yes. I promise. Right. It's just too good. It's just too good. Yeah. But also posting on LinkedIn, building the personal brand, having others, ambassadors refer people. So there's a bunch of growth loops.
Right. In my case, I don't know, maybe it's at the time, not having that in my schedule, but I'm still not sure like how to join or how to proceed or what's even the value. And Slack not so long ago, I wasn't using exactly. So
sure.
Maybe I can give it a go again and see like what's in it for me. But yeah, like you said, it's free. I really love the LinkedIn hacks as well, of putting it in your profile and posting about it and relying on others' posts about it. I have my own masterminds as well.
Sure.
Sometimes asking people to post is even a hassle for them to ask them for a post. So how do you get
You have to give them value. You have to
right.
give them a lot of value. And you have to
Is that
figure out
during
what that
the
is.
events or is that on Slack? Like where'd you give them value?
I mean, we've built so many people's brands for them. like we lift everybody straight up. So like it's a case by case, but like we used to have what we called the RevGenius effect. If you just add it to your profile, like people would send us screenshots of like their profile views on LinkedIn, hockey sticking. All they did was add it. Hockey stick, $0. You have this course, you have this course, you have this course. Just add it to your profile. $0. Do it. Like is that still the case now? There's upticks now. I don't know if it's still as crazy as it was, but like there's so much value. Like I got a call from somebody in India. He's like, Jared, I got fired with my whole agency. And well, I got a Slack message. I got fired with my whole agency for a job I had, and they hired me directly because they saw RevGenius on the profile. That's money. $0 money. That's value. And it's all about how much you lean in, showing up and leaning in and not trying to sell others. Dude, any networking group you go to, you'll have value from that. And if you have a group with a lot of personas and ICP that you like live in, so to speak, you'll probably have even more value.
Love it. Let's keep it to that. Let's do round two soon enough. But where can people find out more about you and RevGenius?
So me, LinkedIn or Jared at RevGenius.com or message me in RevGenius. RevGenius.com is our site. If you want to sign up, RevGenius.com/sign-up, or just go to RevGenius.com and click any of the buttons on the site. It'll go to a type form. That'll guide you in. We'll get you onboarded. We'll get you activated. It's my goal to personally have you hit value and understand what that means as quickly as possible. What's the price? $0. I don't know anybody that's doing it.
Love it, man. Thank you so much.